Assalamu alaikum. So after learning about the process of preparing updated cash book and a bank reconciliation statement, let's solve an example question so that we get an idea that how it's done. The question says, Bobby runs a small business. He is unable to reconcile the balance on the business bank statement with the balance shown in the bank column of his cash book, right? So the two are not matching, and we have the copies of the two records. First we are given with the cash book of the business, right? So there we can see a balance brought down for 1st May 2008. Then there are some transactions recorded in the cash book by the business, and then we have the balance carried down 5310. Now this balance ideally should match with the bank statement balance which we receive from the bank. So let's see whether it's matching or not. And here we have the bank statement. So as we have already discussed that there are three columns in a bank statement. There's a debit column, there's a credit, and the balance column after every transaction which it shows the balance. And we already know that what is debited in the cash book is recorded on the credit side of the bank statement and vice versa. So the cash book is showing me a balance carried down at 30th May of 5310. However, we can see in the bank statement that the final balance is not this, it is 4815, right? This is the balance carried down. It is usually not given with the term balance carried down. The last balance is the balance CD, right? So it's assumed that this is the CD balance. After every transaction we can see the balance, and then the ending balance is the CD balance. And right now in Bobby's business the balances are not matching with each other. So we have to do two things, right? We have to prepare an updated cash book, right? And we have to prepare a bank reconciliation statement. So what are the steps? You already know that first we have to tally the two statements, and so that we can identify the differences and we can see where adjustment is needed. So let's begin. From the debit side, let's compare the debit side with the credit side of the bank statement. Debit side of the cash book and credit side of the bank statement, right? So starting with the opening balance, the opening balance was 5240, right? And I can see the balance brought forward 5240. This is same, so we just have to cancel this. The entries that are there in both the statements, just cancel them as they don't require any adjustment. And we have to highlight the ones that are not present in either statement, right? So okay, so what's the next entry? 320 on the debit side, it is a receipt, so 320 I have to see on the credit side whether it exists or not. And yes, it does. It was a deposit, right? It says with the name of deposit, and the person was P Frogard. So this is there, so it will be cancelled, right? It won't be adjusted. Then M Rush 580 is there. Yes, 580 is also there with the name of deposit, right? So this will also be cancelled. Then 75 for F Dick, another receipt. 75, is it there? Yes, deposit. And you can also see that it was recorded in the cash book on 21st May, right, when the check was received on 21st May. However, in the bank statement, since the bank processes the check in 2 to 3 days, so the entries are shown a bit later. In this example, for instance, the check was received on 21st May. However, it is being shown in the bank statement on 27th of May, right? That is why those the reasons that we have studied for bank lodgements and unpresented checks or uncredited checks, it exists because of that. Because such checks are usually received in the by the end of the month, so they are not shown in the same month's bank statement, right? Okay, so then we have J Marshall 360. Is it there? No, it's not there, right? It's not there in the credit column, so this means that this will require an adjustment. And K Brown 125, is it there? No, it's not there, right? So this will also require adjustment, right? So these two items are there in the cash book but not in the bank statement. And can we recall that items present on the debit side of my bank column or in my cash book, what are they and where are they adjusted? These are called, what are they called? They are called uncredited checks, right? Why uncredited? Because they are being shown on the debit side of the cash book, but they aren't credited in the bank statement yet, usually because they are received, recorded, or they are present in the ending dates of the month. So they will require adjustment where? In the bank reconciliation statement, right? Not in the updated cash book. Why would I adjust them in the updated cash book? They are already recorded in the cash book. And also, don't forget to locate, are there any items present in the bank statement but not in the cash book? Yes, there are. There is an item which is there on the credit side, which I can see on the credit side, but not in the debit side of my cash book, and that is a credit transfer from FDIC amounting to 120. So this transfer was made into the bank, and we weren't notified, so we did not report this credit transfer, this receipt. However, this will be adjusted where? It will be adjusted in the updated cash book, and on which side? On the debit side, right? Why? Because it's a receipt. So this is how you tally, this is how you annotate, this is how you cancel the items present in both, and this is how you circle or you highlight the ones that require adjustment. Now let's compare the credit side of the cash book with my debit column, with the debit column of the bank statement. So the first one is a payment to C thanks amounting to 250. That the check number is also mentioned, 56874. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there, for the purpose of reference. So let's see whether it is there or not. 250. 250 is there. Yes, it is there. 56874. So I will just cancel this, that it is there. Sometimes amounts can be same but for different transactions, right? So you have to cancel the same transaction in both the statements. And for such confusing transactions, reference number is usually, that is why given, right? So 56874, 56874, this will be cancelled. Then next is against the check 56875, 420. Let's see, 420 can be located, 420, yes, and the same check number, so yes, it won't be adjusted, cancel it. And third is 80 against 56877, a check number 80. It is also there, so this will be cancelled again. Next is 510 against 56878, check number 56878, yes, that is also there, so it will be cancelled. Then last is 130 against 56879. Okay, 568, no, that is not there. It is not there, so this means that it will require adjustment. And what is this? Items present on the credit side of my cash book but not there on the debit side of my bank statement are called unpresented checks. Why unpresented? They aren't presented to the bank for payment. The bank hasn't debited them, although we have credited them from our cash book. So they will be adjusted in the bank reconciliation statement. And are there any items present in the bank statement but not in the cash book, right? Can we locate them on the debit column? Yes. First one is the dishonored check returned to drawer, $200. We have already discussed that dishonored checks are shown in the bank statement because usually the business isn't notified at the time when that check is bounced or that check is returned. So we come to know about this transaction when we receive the bank statement. So of course it will be adjusted in the updated cash book, and on which side? On the credit side. Why? Because the correcting entry was debtor debit and my cash book credit, so we'll reverse the entry that was previously made. Then are there any other items? Yes, there is direct debit of $50. What is direct debit? We have already discussed that this is a payment which the bank makes on the business's behalf, and again we come to know about this payment when we receive the bank statement. So this will also be adjusted in the updated cash book on the credit side. And lastly, there are bank charges as well amounting to $10. Again, they will be adjusted in the updated cash book on the credit side. So when you know the double entries, when you know which item will exist on which side and how will that be adjusted either in the updated cash book or in the bank reconciliation statement, you just have to tally the two, identify the differences, and then just adjust them. It's that simple. You don't have to tally the balances of the bank statement with the cash book. No, that is not required. Just the individual balances will be matched in both the statements, right? Now what we have to do is we have to prepare an updated cash book in which we will adjust all the entries that were there in the bank statement but not in the cash book, and then we will prepare a bank reconciliation statement to adjust for unpresented checks and uncredited deposits. So let's begin. The first requirement is to prepare an updated cash book or the updated bank account, and we already know that we start with the balance brought down, which is the balance carried down basically of your unadjusted cash book, right? Why do we do this? We don't take the brought down balance, no, that is the opening balance for the month, and then all those entries were adjusted or they were made, but we take the balance CD figure because that will represent all the entries that were there in the bank statement as well as in the cash book. So in order to carry forward the entries that are matching in both and then adjust the ones that weren't there, so that we take the complete balance, the accurate, the correct balance in the SOFP, we take the balance CD figure. And the balance CD could exist on either side. In this case it is on the credit side. This means that when it becomes the brought down, that will be on the debit side, a positive balance, right? So 20x8, the dates will be the ending dates because after receiving the bank statement and after calculating the balance in the cash book, all the entries will be made at the end of the month. So all the adjustments will be for the same date or whatever the date is given to you in the question. So balance brought down, which is basically the CD balance of your unadjusted cash book, 5310 on the debit side. And now I have to adjust for the items that are there in the bank statement but not in the cash book. So first one is dishonored check amounting to 200. This is this is appearing on the debit side, means it will be adjusted on the credit side to reverse the entry made for the debtor, that is debtor debit, cash book credit. So that is against the debtor, and you can write dishonored check for reference. Then next entry is of direct debit, again an expense payment, 50 on the credit side, that will also be recorded. Same date, insurance, direct debit. Then we have bank charges, again they will also be credited, it's an expense, so bank charges. Then on the debit side there's only just one adjustment, that is the credit transfer for a debtor FDIC, that will be debited because it's a receipt, it's a deposit. So 120, same date, the name of the debtor and reference credit transfer. That's it. So now we have to adjust the cash book and we have to extract a balance carried down, which will be on the credit side, of course. So the totals are 5310 plus 120, 5430, and my CD would be 5430 minus 10 minus 50 minus 200, that is 5170, right? And that will become my brought down balance as well. 1st June balance brought down 5170. Now this should reconcile with the balance that we will get by preparing a bank reconciliation statement. And we have studied two methods in which a bank reconciliation statement could be prepared. if we start with the balance as per bank statement, which is given to us in the end, which was 4815, then we add the uncredited deposits and we subtract the unpresented checks, right? And vice versa, if we start with the balance as per updated cash book, so we add unpresented and we subtract uncredited, right? So let's do the first method, that is balance as per bank statement. 4815, 4815. Now we have to add uncredited deposits that were debited in the cash book but they weren't shown on the credit side of my bank statement, and there are two such deposits, 360 and 125, J Marshall and K Brown. These two will be added. The total is 485 and we will subtract unpresented checks that will be there on the credit side of my cash book, that is 130 B small. Okay, so 130 or B small, that will be subtracted. So 4815 plus 485 minus 130, the answer is 5170, which is reconciling with my updated cash book balance. So this is how it should be, balance as per updated cash book, right? So if you remember the steps, again if you remember the nature of the account, the double entries, that how do we tally, and what we find in the bank statement, what we find in the cash book, and what are the ones that are not there in either, how are they adjusted. Preparing an updated cash book and a bank reconciliation statement is very easy. I hope it was clear.